Hi, I'm here with Andrew Thomas, CEO of Downtown Santa Monica. Our firm led the search that placed Andrew at Downtown Santa Monica back in 2022. Welcome, Andrew.
Hi, Ben. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you. For those that may not know, can you tell us a little bit about Downtown Santa Monica and what the organization does?
Sure. So, Downtown Santa Monica Inc. is a business improvement district, which means that we provide special benefits to our stakeholders within particular boundaries. So, our boundaries are downtown Santa Monica. So, for folks who own property, they pay an assessment, which is funneled through their property taxes and comes to us to provide benefits. And we also have other revenue streams as well. I would say our services fall into three buckets. There's the operations bucket, which is clean and safe programs, beautification efforts. There's the marketing communications events bucket, which is essentially telling the story of downtown Santa Monica and why we matter and why people should come here to visit us. And then there's the economic development bucket, which is advocacy, but also implementing programs that we think will help the economic conditions here in our downtown district.
No, that's great. Well, you've been there now for a little over 2 years. So how are things going, and what's coming up next for DTSM?
Sure. Well, it's been busy. Post-COVID really hit a lot of our downtown communities very hard. It accelerated trends in the retail marketplace that were very challenging. I think everybody knows what the office environment is, and people working remotely as opposed to coming to work. And it hit our downtown communities, which are really places where people would gather socially, and prevented that from happening. So our downtowns really atrophied in ways that I think a lot of people didn't expect. And what our organization did, and what others similar to us did and do, is really tell the story of our downtowns, why we matter, why people need to engage with us, and then come back to help restore our communities. So people like me have been working extraordinarily hard to assist our downtowns, to make sure that our communities are lively and thriving, and in places where people want to be. And it's been exciting work. It's been exciting to see it come back together. When I began here, probably a month before I started, the organization invited 5 new board members to come on. They had a number of priorities, were in some ways skeptical of the organization and downtown Santa Monica in general. So we had to work very hard to understand their priorities, to engage them, and make sure that everybody understands the mission of the organization, what it means to be successful, and really proud of how that has turned out. Everybody is largely on board with the organization, with the mission, with the vision, and excited about the future. And speaking of the future, I couldn't be more bullish on the future of downtown Santa Monica. There's an extraordinary amount of investment happening now, over $1 billion in our hospitality industry with new hotels and
Wow.
modeling existing hotels. We have a ton of residential being built in our community, and leasing is up. And the Third Street Promenade, which had been hit hard with vacancies, is now coming back. A number of new tenants have opened up this year. So we're really excited about the future here in downtown.
Are you seeing, I'm just curious, with the retail side of things, I know there's just been shifts in retail in all sectors, all cities. Are you seeing any trends in terms of the type of retail that's coming back, or maybe those that aren't coming back?
Yeah, we are. We're seeing a lot more experiential uses come
Hmm.
into our retail spaces. So, for example, we had one large box retail property on the Third Street Promenade. It was very large, and it shifted to become pickleball. So
Oh,
people are
cool.
starting to play pickleball now in downtown, where they, might have gone to an Old Navy in the past. And we have a new place that's going to be open up the day after Thanksgiving, which is going to be putt-putt mini golf, where you can have a beer or a glass of wine, and similar uses where you can paint and have a painting party and have a glass of wine or a beer as well. We're still seeing retail uses come back, which has been exciting. I think people want to go visit stores. Barnes and Noble just came back to the Third Street Promenade. That was a big deal for us. Seeing restaurants really come back in a big way, and really wanting to be outside, which I think is one of the silver linings of COVID, which is it
Yeah.
people, at least in Los Angeles, and understanding that when when it's 72 degrees and sunny all the time, being outside is a really great thing. So seeing our businesses, especially our restaurants, capitalize on outside public space has been really gratifying.
In joining DTSM, you followed a leader who had been in the role for almost 25 years.
Mhm.
And looking back on that transition, I'm just curious what advice you might have, one, to nonprofit boards going through a similar transition from either a long-standing leader or even a founder. And then also what advice you might have for those executives that are coming in following those leaders.
Yeah, great question. And one that's personal for me because I worked here for this organization for 10
Yeah.
years for that same leader who is just a standout in our industry in general throughout the country, but left an extraordinary legacy here in our downtown Santa Monica community. I'd say one of the challenges that I faced was that there was a period of about 8 months between when she left to go pursue another opportunity and when I started, where there was a bit of a leadership vacuum. So for me, having to come on and address that vacuum where a number of the staff people left for one reason or the other. I mean, we had to ramp up, we had to hire, but also had to establish a new culture here, which was important to me and was certainly a challenge, but also an opportunity. I'd say, be going in reverse order from your questions for the leaders coming in. I would say don't let your ego get in the way and sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm sure that there were things that your predecessor did that were superb that you can take advantage of and relationships that you can leverage. So by all means, you need to make it your own. You were hired for a reason. But I wouldn't be afraid to look inward and objectively about the position that you've taken on and what you've inherited in terms of the organization and see what you can incorporate because clearly there were things that were working that you need to take advantage of. So don't let your ego get in the way. As for the boards interviewing candidates, I would say don't be tied to the past. Be open-minded about the candidates that are out there that you're considering, and potentially somebody could come forward that has experience in an entirely different industry that might be applicable or relevant to what you're doing, or somebody who might be creative enough where they can sort of transition or parlay that experience into a new opportunity. So while I'd say experience in a particular industry is certainly important, I wouldn't be shy about interviewing a number of candidates that have the same type of leadership qualities that you're looking for that might be transferable in this particular industry.
And thank you for that. I think all of that is really great advice. When coming in and once you're actually there in the role, any advice that you might have for those boards on how to set up a new leader for success following a founder or longstanding person?
Yeah, I would say, the advice I would give, or if I was serving on the board that brought in a new leader, I think understanding everybody's particular roles and, the board has its role, likely of setting policy and, providing some oversight, establishing a budget, things of that nature. That doesn't include the day-to-day operations of an organization. And there may be a period where there was sort of a gap between when the previous leader left and the new one began, where maybe the board had to step up and provide some additional, service or maybe be involved, in a more day-to-day way. I would ensure that you give the leader that has been hired the opportunity to really establish themselves and do the job that they were hired to do. And it's okay to take a step back and let that individual really make the organization their own. I mean, that's presumably why they were hired in the first place. But I would also keep in close contact and regular visits, lunches, and coffee to make sure that everybody's on the same page, but really giving that person the space to be able to establish themselves so they can take over and do the job that they were hired to do.
Oh, that's great advice. We're seeing more and more long-standing leaders retiring and leaving, founders as well. And that hiring that lead executive, it's the single most important thing that a nonprofit board does. And when it's replacing a founder or a long-standing leader, it's that much more challenging. And there's a lot to consider about that transition. And you want to, I've said this many times, but you want to honor and respect the accomplishments of the outgoing leader or founder. But you also want to make sure you're setting that new person up for success and the organization up for success as well.
Yeah,
So,
well, I couldn't agree more.
Well, thank you. That really, really great advice. Great catching up, and I wish you and downtown Santa Monica and the team all the best for continued success.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks for bringing me back here.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Thank you.